John is in Peoria, Illinois. Hey, John, welcome to the podcast. How can I help?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Pleasure to speak with you today.
You too.
I'm the founder and president of a small consulting business. We've been in business about 13 years, and we've got about 16 employees. Last year, we did about $1.8 million in revenue, and this year we're on track for about 2.7.
Way to go.
Thank you. Thinking ahead regarding succession planning, my son is currently going to college for accounting, and he's expressed interest in taking over the business in the future. He doesn't necessarily have the professional degree in our line of work, but
what is your line of work?
Accounting. It's similar to engineering consulting. So we're in the geospatial industry, it's called. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking to kind of with that succession planning with him taking over someday. I'd like for him to go basically work somewhere else for a few years before integrating him into the business, and then having maybe like a 10-year plan on him moving into leadership and then taking over ownership someday. My question is, how can I best prepare him, myself, and my team to ensure the smoothest transition possible when that time comes?
Well, what you're doing is fabulous. The way you're laying it out is it's unusual in a good way, because most people aren't this intentional this many years out. And one of the principles we've found when we've studied family businesses that had successful succession plans is the more gradual the plan, the higher the probability that it's a successful handoff. Okay. And so you've given yourself a really long runway here, which is exactly what you need to do. So very well done. Congratulations on that. Now, what do we do with that runway is what you're asking. And if you want him to work somewhere else for a little while, that's fine. A lot of people promote that. My friend Dan Cathy at Chick-fil-A, they have always required the next generation to work somewhere else 2 years. The rumor has it that the Cathy family kids, grandkids, great-grandkids call that 2 years that they can't work there purgatory. And so, but they're out there learning how not to do it in a lot of cases because, as you know, corporate America sucks. So if you get plugged into one of those things, you figure out how not to lead. But anyway, so that's an idea thing. We did not do that. We brought ours straight in, but we were big enough that there were several layers of leadership between us. So none of my kids reported directly to me. I did not have any one-on-one accountability with any of my kids for, almost a decade before they did. Now, my son Daniel has been here 11 years. He moved into the president's role. I'm the CEO 18 months ago. And that's the first, and he's moved his office next to mine, and that's the first time he's actually accountable directly to me. Prior to that, he worked for somebody that worked for somebody that worked for me. And so that
I think I heard you mention one of the things you do with mentoring him is you took him to breakfast, and I'm starting to do those kind of things and have those discussions to try to start, preparing him for future leadership. Yeah,
for 10 years, we've had breakfast every Tuesday morning unless I'm traveling or he is. And that's just a father-son breakfast. That's not a business mentoring breakfast. Sometimes we talked business. Sometimes we talk sometimes we took football, but or grandbabies or whatever else. But
so as far as introducing this to my leadership team, I'm assuming when that time comes and ready to bring him back into the business, giving them plenty of time and plenty of planning and plenty of notice is
and also letting them buy into the dream, because here's the thing: your leadership team, if you disappear, when you die, when you retire, if they don't have someone strong coming into that seat, they're screwed. So it is in their best interest for your sons to succeed, which means that he can't be a wussy boss's son who gets away with murder. He's actually got to grow some dadgum muscle. And so I had guys, Daniel plugged into the Daniel mentoring team. There were 3 of my top leaders that took Daniel to breakfast once a week, and their job, and he knew it, they knew it, I knew it, all of us knew it, their job was to mentor him to to pour into him and to put muscle on him really fast as far as leadership muscle goes, and because it was in their best interest. Because otherwise, when Dave's not here, they're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
So they bought into that. They bought into the dream, and they wanted him to win. They wanted him to be capable, to be competent, to grow his skills. And consequently, I think it accelerated all of that for him. They did a lot of stuff for him I couldn't have done, those three men. They're three of my top leaders, three of my best friends, and they just took, said, it's in my best interest personally. It's in the best interest of the company. It's in the best interest of our customers for the next generation to be competent and ready. And it's our job to help get him there. But they took that job seriously because they bought into the dream. That's what your leaders can do. And so even when he came in at an entry level, like if your son went out 2 years and then came in, he's not going to come in leadership. He's going to come in at some kind of entry level. And the best thing they can do there is stand back and let him get a few bruises, let him make some mistakes, and let him learn some lessons and talk him through the lessons and get him a callus, toughen him. Mm-hmm. And that's because you and I had that happen, man. That's how we got where we are. We got the snot beat out of us by the marketplace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your kid is not going to have that benefit except under the guidance of your leadership team and you. So the further you can keep him away from you when he enters your building for the first little while, the better.
Okay.
Because that's going to allow that team to come around him. They'll learn to love him and so forth. And then my advice to him is keep your mouth shut and get your work done. Humility. You don't be confused if you're born on third that you hit a triple, dude.
Yeah.
You didn't do nothing. You need to shut up, and you got to work twice as hard as everybody else to even be respected.
Yeah. The ideal team player, hungry, humble, smart.
Yeah, and lots of humble.
Reading as well.
Lots of humble. Mm-hmm. Lots of hungry, lots of smart. But smart is you don't do anything except you hand out. You give credit to everybody but yourself. And you got to really be humble. And the second thing he better do for the sake of his reputation with the rest of the leaders, because, John, they lead on your team because they love you. And he hadn't got any choice except to keep you in a seat of honor. He has to constantly publicly honor his dad and honor the founder of the company, even when he disagrees. He's got to publicly lift up and honor that because that's class. And when he starts to be low class, he looks like the snotty prince who's getting ready to assassinate the king. Mm-hmm. And you can't have that vibe going. So, so my advice to him is ideal team player on steroids and humility, and keep the honor, keep the founder always in a seat of honor. For the rest of his life, he's got to do that. Mm-hmm. And so just like you don't steal all the honor from your team when there's a win, you hand the credit to the team if you're a good leader, right? Same thing's true here. Sure. You don't. When you're a real leader, you don't get to steal the honor. You hand it to someone else. You steal the credit, then you're not a real leader. You're just a self-centered narcissist. But anyway, you know all that stuff. But that's the stuff that's the stuff Daniel and I've been talking about for 15 years. To where and of course, then he's got to have his business acumen in place. And in your son's case, he's not going to have the expertise of what it takes to do the work in the field. So he's going to have to learn some of that. He doesn't have to become a geoscientist, but he needs to understand what the flip they're doing because it's what y'all do. He can't be constantly walking around the dumbest guy in the room. That won't work. Or as Will, who works aboard here, his grandpa says, he says, you might not be the dumbest guy in the room, but if he dies, you're in trouble. You don't want to be that. You don't want to be anywhere on that list, right? That's the whole thing. John, that's a great question, man. Thanks for letting me get on my family business succession soapbox. It's one of my favorite subjects. It's a very hard thing to do, but it's very worthwhile. This is the EntreLeadership Podcast.